Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
All right. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today, I have a special guest from around the globe. He's clear over in Australia. His name is Russ Stevens, and he is the CEO and founder of the Association of Professional Builders. He has a true passion for helping entrepreneurs and mentoring professional builders globally. His entrepreneurial story starts in 1983 in South London, England, when at the age of 19, he left his father's retail business and started selling toiletries and household cleaning products to discount stores from the back of a van. By the turn of the century, the business was employing over 50 staff and was ranked number one in the country for productivity and ROI. Russ, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Lance. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. Before we get into things, maybe you could tell us and the audience a little bit more about why you left your father's business and then how you started your own out of the van.
Yeah, interesting story. I guess it wasn't so much that I chose to leave as he sacked me. I was driving him mad. He was in retail, and I guess I had a passion for doing things on a bit bigger scale. So I started buying in larger quantities and wholesaling to other retailers, and it was driving him mad. So in the end, he basically told me to clear off and do my own thing, which I did.
Yeah, and obviously it's led you to a very interesting career path of where you're at now. So the entrepreneurial blood is just running through your guys' veins all day long. It sounds like in the family. So after the van business, you decided to move to Australia, and that's where you got into the construction industry. Tell us about that move, and then how you got into the construction industry because of that move.
Yeah, well, interestingly, it was always a passion of mine to move to the south of the equator, really, the southern hemisphere, and I always had my eye on New Zealand, even as a young kid. But when I met my wife, she was very clear she wanted to move to Australia. So we formulated a plan. We're gonna move to Australia once our firstborn reached the age of 13, because we kind of did the research and realized that after that age, kids find it hard to settle. And so we made a plan, we wrote it down, we knew exactly what we needed to happen. We had to grow the business to a certain level. So that gave me the why, I guess, for the business, really, to keep driving that forward. And we landed in Australia on my son's 13th birthday. So that's the power of writing down your goals, I think, very important. And in Australia, we couldn't set up on an investment visa in order to become permanent residents. We had to set up a business. Yeah, that was the requirement for us. We had to set up a business and employ people. I didn't want to go back into distribution. Yeah, it was getting tougher and tougher. But I looked around, and construction was very big in Australia, and I kind of looked at it and believed that it shouldn't be treated as a commodity. A lot of people, especially people in the industry, builders, they get very hung up on margins and pricing. And really, from the outside, it's very hard to compare two prices, especially on a custom home. So I believe there was an opportunity there to work with builders and to really show them how they could earn a lot more money from doing what they were doing.
And you didn't have any building experience prior to getting into the construction business, correct?
No, that's right. No experience at all. Got into it, learnt a lot in the first 5 years. It's incredible the amount of learns builders have to go through setting up a business, and it's a very painful and expensive process getting those decisions wrong. But no, I had no experience there of actually operating a building company, so you had to learn really fast. But the experience from being in business outside the construction industry, I think, really helped, because you can bring a lot of those ideas, strategies, systemization into an industry that's not fully systemized, to be honest, not fully organized.
Yeah. So how did you exactly purchase the the company? I mean, were you just knocking on doors and finding people and hopefully finding the right one that wanted to sell their business? I mean, some people, a lot of people, you hear about these stories of, well, maybe they work for the company for 4 or 5, 6, 10, 12 years, whatever. And then the owners eventually want, try to do an internal kind of sale. How did yours work?
So I started the Association of Professional Builders from scratch with my daughter, Sky Stevens. So originally, I guess the story started around about 2010, where I was providing services to the construction industry in terms of contract signing. And this was kind of building on the belief that builders could charge more. So we would prepare contracts for building companies and then go out to consumers and get those contracts signed. And it gave us a great opportunity to get insights into why consumers were signing contracts with builders. And what we found, it was never the price. Never the price. That only happens in investment homes. It was always the level of detail. It was the communication. It was a number of other reasons. But builders had this belief that they were losing jobs on price. So there was obviously this disconnect. But around about that time, my daughter had just started university, and she was studying marketing at the time, and we were talking at home about the future of marketing, the internet, the impact it was having on marketing. And it was from that conversation that we decided to set up a marketing agency for residential home builders, because we knew that we're missing out on a lot of good opportunities because they simply weren't marketing themselves very well. A lot of conversation I was having, I was actually helping builders, showing them what they need to be doing on their website, and they enjoyed that. So that kind of gave me a buzz as well. So with my daughter, Sky Stevens, we set up this marketing agency and started generating leads for builders. So we'd build websites, we would manage their Facebook campaigns, their Google campaigns. And through generating all those leads, we realized that a lot of guys still weren't successful. I mean, some guys were saying to us the leads were rubbish. Others, were quite successful. And what we realized was the thing they were missing was the sales process. So in 2014, we launched a new product or service called Acris Sales Training, where we taught builders the sales process. And that took off. That went phenomenally well. So well, in fact, that a year later, again, these guys now had leads coming to them. They were converting those leads into sales, but they were still time poor, or they weren't earning enough money. And it was at that point we come to realization that really there's so much more we need to be teaching these guys. We need to be talking to them about margins, understanding their financials, leadership skills as well, and even a better mindset. And that is why we launched the Association of Professional Builders, which was a coaching company dedicated to improving the construction industry for both builders and consumers. So that started from scratch, and now we're coaching close to 500 builders worldwide.
Amazing. My question was actually, I should have been a little bit more specific. It was actually, how did you find that original construction business? But I would love.
Okay, so when I first moved over, it was it was a franchise opportunity. That was the easiest way.
Okay.
To get into the industry, because I thought I could learn a lot from a franchise opportunity. But how wrong can you be? Even the franchises, are not as systemized as you would think they would be. You'd think it would be like a McDonald's franchise. You've got everything systemized and run, but that's simply not the case in construction.
Yeah, I believe it. Right. And I think one of the major points you're bringing out here is the lack of systemization. And you also some other questions kind of popped up in my head here too. I'd like to ask you about builders specifically. But when you bought that first business, it was in 2006, right? Okay. And so right before the real estate crash, right before the market crashed entirely, we had the Great Recession. And then you made a pivot to keep things going. What was that pivot? Because banks weren't lending any money to keep that business going, which then eventually led to your marketing agency.
Absolutely, yes. So around about 2009, the banks weren't lending, as you were saying. There was no contracts being signed, especially in the high-end custom home, and that's where we were. We were in the high-end custom home, so there was nothing going on. So you had to make a decision at that point. Were you going to drop down into the two or $300,000 investment homes? Or were you going to sit it out and wait for the market to come back? And it was that point that decided, well, we had a lot of knowledge in terms of the front end of the business, actually managing the client contract, putting all the detail together. And that's what we started doing, was producing those contracts for builders. So providing services for other builders. I guess at the time I might have been thinking it was treading water until the market came back, but it kind of evolved into other things.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you're successful. I think you said, what do you say? You're coaching right now over 500 folks?
Yeah, close to 500 builders at this moment in time, but growing at a rapid pace. Yes.
And you don't, it's not just Australia, right? You guys are international at this point.
No, probably less than 50% now is in Australia. So we're servicing building companies in New Zealand, Canada, the US. We have coaches based in Canada and the US as well. So we've got a significant operation over there.
What do you think? What is the thing that stuck out to you maybe the most in helping other builders be better business people, basically? What was some of the things that you found that were common along all of them that they lacked, where there was a big gap between actually building something, finding the client, getting the client? Was there just some things that constantly kept popping up when you were engaging with them?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it's very much a moving target, and we do study this and keep a close eye on it. A couple of years ago, it was all marketing. You talk to most builders, I just need more leads. We knew that wasn't the fundamental problem with their business. The fundamental problem is always margins. That's always the first place to start with a builder, but you have to give them what they want first, and then you can start showing them what they need. So it was marketing, but now at this moment in time, it's probably never been easier. I wouldn't say easier to run a building company, but it's never been easier to acquire clients for a building company. And builders have never been busier than they are right now. And this all started about 12 months ago. And now the industry is under enormous stress and strain from labor and material shortages. And the real number one topic at the moment is all about pricing and margins, because margins are being eroded. And builders typically sign fixed price contracts, and they're needing help with managing their margins, understanding their financials.
Yeah. When somebody contacts you and a builder and they want to start working with you, what does that process look like? Is it and how long does it take? I mean, are you signing lifelong clients, or is there sort of a Russ Stevens school of how to become a good business person, and then you graduate?
Ideally, we're attracting members for life, because what we're doing is we're building a community, and we have builders that started working with us back in 2014 that are still members, still working with us now. Because learning, we take the Kaizen approach. It's this ongoing process of constant improvement, constant learning. We're always developing new tools for builders. So we very much have that mindset of members for life to continue working. But obviously, we're not locking in builders for life, and builders, quite rightly, can be a little skeptical, a little bit anxious to start, and want to kind of put a toe in the water. So what we offer builders is the opportunity to become a member of the Association of Professional Builders for $2,000 a year, and that gives them access to all of our systems. Now, this is an important step for us, because if we're going to be working with a builder one-on-one and coaching them and investing time and energy, we need to know that they're serious about systemizing their building companies, and that they buy into the methodologies that we're putting out there. So by allowing them access to our systems for a nominal fee, they can see what the APB is all about, and from there, We'll then have a strategy session with them where we'll go deeper into their business and understand where the real problems are. And if it makes sense for both the coach and the builder, there's an opportunity there for the guys to work together one-on-one. But I guess the main difference about the Association of Professional Builders and either generic coaching or even coaching that is dedicated to builders is that all of our personal, private, one-on-one coaching is all based on DDD, which is data-driven decisions. So we set our builders up with a KPI spreadsheet, a KPI dashboard, and that way the coach can see exactly where the business is at any one time across something like 20 key performance indicators. And that allows the coach to go straight to the real problem rather than wasting time on the superficial problem, or maybe where the business owner may think there's a problem, or they might want to revisit a problem they previously solved because they get into the comfort zone. So that's a very important differentiator about the way we work.
Well, maybe you could share with us, without naming names, one of your best success stories so far of someone that's came in and they were desperate or not or whatever, but one of those best success stories. I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, one of my favorite clients was, I think it was the second or third builder that actually signed up into our program way back in 2014 now. And it was a husband and wife team, lovely, lovely people. And they came in, they got it immediately. They understood exactly what we were teaching in terms of the financials. They understood the calculations that have to be performed in construction, which not many people understand this, not even accountants. So we teach that to them as well. And they got this, they produced accurate financials and they grew their margin and they grew it. They were working on something like 5.75% gross margin, which is just insane.
Holy cow.
And our benchmark for a new home builder is a 25% margin, which is a 33% markup, which builders laughed at us 5 years ago when we told them that. But now, because we have the proof, it's become widely accepted that those are the benchmarks with a 10% net profit. But the thing I love about this couple is that he told me 18 months later, he said he came from a trades background and the mentality very much then was, what's the point in earning more money? You only got to pay more tax. And he said, I know that sounds stupid, but that's the way we think. And now, they take their family away, lovely family. They take their family away to Hawaii and the different camping trips, numerous overseas holidays, obviously when we could go overseas, building themselves a lovely home as well. It's just fantastic to see and very, very rewarding to know that you've been able to help someone to change their life to that level and go from a 5-figure income, to be honest, up to, we're talking, 5, 6, 700,000 income, which is a life changer.
That's absolutely life-changing, for sure. At that point, then you start to figure out what to do with your money to not avoid taxes, but defer the taxes a little bit better, right? People have that figured out.
Tax efficient.
Become tax efficient. I love that. That's even better.
They don't spend it wise enough, do they, for us to be giving them any more than they need?
Absolutely. Yeah, they shouldn't get a penny. So one thing you brought up was just that some folks are operating on this very thin kind of margin. And I keep also hearing some themes that you're repeating where people they don't have the basics kind of at their fingertips for running a business like this. Why do you think there's a gap between for builders to not have that kind of knowledge? Is it simply because a lot of them maybe were tradesmen or tradeswomen and there's no real kind of formal education, be it you don't have to go to college. You could take a course like yours or, get in this association and kind of learn all that. Where's that gap coming from?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. The traditional path for a residential home builder is that they left school early. They did an apprenticeship. They completed their apprenticeship and they started their own carpentry team. And at that point, they were doing small jobs for homeowners, or they started subcontracting for builders. And at some point, they either decided, they looked at what the builder was doing and thought, I can do a better job than that guy. Or maybe they just looked at the money and thought there's more money in that. But either way, they made that leap from running a carpentry team to becoming a builder. Now, running a building company is one of the most complex things you can do because you're bringing together materials and labor on a fixed timeline for a fixed budget. And it's your money at risk because it's a fixed budget. Very, very complex. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of organization. And a lot of guys, because they haven't had any kind of formal training in systems or anything like that, they do everything in their head. So they're doing call forwards for materials like 2 months in advance, and they're keeping it all in their head. Extremely difficult. But it is, they've never been exposed to any kind of training that lays everything out for them. This is how you organize your project management. There's a system behind it. This is how you plan your jobs. These are the margins you need to be working on, and this is the reason why. This is how you understand your financials. 95% of builders that come to us do not understand their financials, and that's fine because we break it all down into simple, easy to understand reports. And the truth is, we're saying 95% of builders don't understand their financials. 95% of accountants don't understand construction financials. There's a misunderstanding there because there's a key number in the accounts that accountants confuse with manufacturing, which results in incorrect financial reports being created. So if you're running a building company and you've ever looked at your profit going up one month and then down the month and it makes no sense, the reason is you're missing a simple calculation, which a lot of accountants simply don't understand.
Yeah. And you're filling in a hole that I think we've been waiting for people to fill. I actually went to 2 years of technical trade school, basically to be a contractor. And I think some of the things they missed were how to put together an estimate. You could estimate materials, but that's quite different from understanding, okay, if my carpenter is charging me $25 an hour, what should I be billing he or she out at? How do profit margins work? What does a P&L look like? So bravo for everything that you're doing for the industry. I think you're making a bigger difference in a university. You could be completely honest with you, Russ. So I hope people listening to this podcast will reach out to you and get in touch. We have a lot of builders, architects who become builders who listen to this show. What is one mistake that you found that all builders make right away? Is there one that just also sticks out where you're like, oh, it seems like all the new builders are making this mistake? Maybe one of those ones where you said, if you don't have a lot of money, you can't learn all these mistakes and you need to make very, very few.
I think the biggest mistake, the most widespread mistake we see is not understanding the difference between markup and margin. And the problem is, in our industry, those terms seem to be used interchangeably. Even by big organizations, I've seen big organizations refer to margin when they're talking about markup. And that costs builders a lot of money because when a builder doesn't understand the difference, they might believe that they're working on a 15% margin when really they've only put a 15% markup on, and that's dangerous. And maybe if they put a 20% markup on, they might think that's a 20% margin. They might look at $100,000 coming into the bank account and thinking 20% of that is profit. It's not. It's 16.6%. Now that is a lot of money that is not profit, $3,500. And the other misconception, especially with new home builders, is building new homes is cash flow positive. And that means you've got more cash coming into the business than going out. And there's a number of reasons for that. Jobs get front loaded, nothing wrong with that. It helps with cash flow. Invoices don't always come in as quickly as they should. But the end result is when you've got 6 jobs all at different stages, you could have $500,000 in the bank account and not realize just how much of that is other people's money because your creditors report shows 200,000. But there is a hidden liability. We call it the work in progress accounting adjustment, and we built a calculator to calculate that figure out. But that is the danger figure, because a builder that looks at his bank balance and thinks, well, I've got $200,000 in creditors. I know I've got more invoices coming in. I don't know how many, but even if we said 100,000, I've got 200,000 profit. We go out and buy a new boat or a jet ski or a new yacht. this is where builders run into trouble. So I guess I gave you a couple there, but yeah, it starts with markup and margin, but really it then comes to not understanding the financials and spending money that they don't have.
Yeah, that niche problem that you just identified is one that I am aware of every single time we do a building project of, oh, I've got 100,000 in the bank, but wait a minute, who hasn't invoiced me yet before I make my next draw so that I can do the calculation? And it's something every builder should be aware of, whether or not they do or do not take your course. I think that is something that could really catch you in a bad position. And that's where maybe 80% of them go, a belly up within the first 5 years for reasons like that.
Absolutely. Because even a small building company that has annual sales of, say, $6 million, they could be carrying a hidden liability of between $500,000 and $1 million. The numbers are huge.
Absolutely.
It always surprises people. The other side of that coin, of course, is that when their accountant isn't recognizing this number and inserting it into their accounts, they're overstating their profits. So they're actually paying tax on profits they haven't made, and that's further hurting their cash flow.
100%. Russ, this has been great. One question I like to ask everybody, it's a question I ask everybody, and you can relate it to whatever business or background you'd like to. But knowing what you know now, and before you started the Association of Professional Builders and co-founded, I should clarify too, you're one of the co-founders. What is one piece of advice you would give yourself?
One piece. That's an interesting question. I think go harder, because I've just seen the impact that we've had with so many builders, and it kind of makes me regret all those people that I may have spoken to 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe didn't convince them to become members. You feel kind of responsible that you've let them down, that you weren't able to show them why they needed this information. And I see people that would have spoken to 4 or 5 years ago still struggling in the same place, and I feel responsible that I haven't helped them. So I think my advice to myself is go harder. You have the right solutions. You've got the solutions that can help them. You've got to be able to show these guys the value.
I love that. Russ, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find and follow you and your companies?
associationofprofessionalbuilders.com. Can just type that in or put it into a Google search and we will come up. And once you land on that page, you'll see a load of free resources. We run a free webinar every week at the moment. They could cover financials, marketing, sales. The topics vary, but we run a free webinar every week. There's also tools you can download, and you can even watch a video which will show you behind the curtain of what goes on inside the Association of Professional Builders.
Beautiful. Russ, thanks so much. You have a great day. Really appreciate your time and coming on the show.
Thanks so much, Lance. Really enjoyed it.
All right.